Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. Here's some information about me in case you don't know about who I am. And also, this channel, the Ignition Time channel, is about the country, it's about the economy, and it's about our money. Now, the stock market continues to go up and down. The $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan is expected to pass the House in the next 24 to 48 hours because remember, the way things work is that the same version of the bill that passed the Senate needs to pass the House, and then it goes to the president's desk for signature. And then when President Biden signs it, that is when the bill becomes law. And that's when the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen instructs the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, to start sending out the money. Speaking of the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, she said something very important because many people are concerned about inflation impacting the future economic recovery. Here's an article on your screen that was published by Bloomberg. And by the way, we'll give you a link to all of our resources in the description section below. Yellen says stimulus unlikely to cause inflation problem. Now, here's the concern. The concern is a lot of individuals have money left over. A lot of individuals have personal savings as a direct result of all the stimulus that has been passed so far. Now, I do want to be clear. I know that many of our fellow Americans are struggling. Individuals in travel, leisure, entertainment, and hospitality have lost their jobs permanently, and I understand that. I've been covering that extensively on our channel, and I'll continue to do it. I personally believe that help should go to those who need it the most. For me, it's not about the red or the blue, it's about the red, white, and blue. I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, I'm American first. As far as the personal savings rate goes, more and more individuals have saved more and more money. So as soon as the economy reopens, there's expected to be a surge in spending. What happens when there's a surge in spending? The demand exceeds the supply, and that's when prices go up, and that's called inflation. Normal inflation is right around 2% a year, but if inflation goes up too much, then it becomes hard to be able to afford things, and that's a problem that the Federal Reserve, that's a problem that the United States government does not want. They want a healthy degree of inflation. They simply don't want too much inflation. And the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen called the impact of the pandemic on minority communities, including African American communities and Hispanic communities and women, she called it absolutely tragic. She said she's not concerned about inflation, and she said, and I quote, she said this, "I really don't think that's going to happen." She's referring to inflation. She said inflation before the pandemic was too low rather than too high. And she said if it turns out to be inflationary, in other words, if prices start to rise, there are tools to deal with that. She was referring to the inflation impact of the $1.9 trillion stimulus package. Now, what's been happening is that treasury yields have been going up. Now, you see this chart on your screen that says reflation trade. Now, these are yields and inflation expectations as the stimulus bill is right around the corner. Now, what's happening is that there's a fear that there could be inflation, and because of, and this is directly related to that fear, the treasury yields increase. In other words, basically you get paid more money to lock your money, you get paid more interest to lock your money with the US government as inflation increases. So when this happens, the stock market goes, whoa, if we're going to get, 1.5%, 2% from a treasury yield with zero risk because it's backed by the US government, we need to move away from stocks, specifically technology stocks. Many technology stocks have really taken a big beating, but I do think this is an excellent opportunity to buy stocks if you're in it for the long term, 5-year, 10-year horizon. My number one investment is Apple. And Apple right now is cheaper than when I bought it. So I'm actually buying more Apple at this moment in time because I have a 5 to 10-year horizon. You have heard me mention this before on our channel. This is a K-shaped recovery. Individuals at the top of the K are doing just fine. In fact, they're doing better than ever before because of the increase in their asset prices, increase in their home values, and for many individuals, increase in their stock prices, unless, of course, they bought technology stocks, which are taking quite a beating right now. But here's the important part. When you have a K-shaped recovery, individuals at the top of the K are doing just fine, and individuals at the bottom of the K, individuals in travel, leisure, entertainment, and hospitality, individuals who've lost their jobs permanently are essentially stuck at the bottom of the K, and therefore this is an uneven, in many ways unfair recovery that has significantly impacted certain sectors. The US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen actually recognizes, here's a quote, a brand new quote from the US Treasury Secretary, "We have a K-shaped recovery going on, in which high income people are doing much better than those at the bottom of the economic ladder, low wage workers and minorities." Now, I just want our viewers and subscribers to know that African American individuals, Hispanic individuals have been significantly impacted as a direct result of the pandemic. And the US Treasury Secretary also said the problem predates the pandemic but was made immeasurably worse by the pandemic. Basically, what Janet Yellen is saying is that there always was a fundamental unfairness in our system, and that was exaggerated as a direct result of the pandemic. In fact, Bloomberg reports that the unemployment rate for African American individuals who have a disproportionate share of low-wage jobs and of union membership was double that of whites during much of the past 50 years. In case you're wondering why that was in part because policymakers historically pulled back support just as the growth standard was reaching lower income workers to avoid too much inflation. So this is the ironic part of this whole situation. Think about this for a second. The government provides a lot of stimulus. The government essentially props up the entire economy. As the economy is improving, the individuals at the top of the food chain, individuals who have a higher education level, individuals who are in certain managerial jobs, individuals who are in technology jobs that are not impacted as a result of the pandemic, they start seeing the benefit. Now, as the benefits start to trickle down to low wage earners, to individuals in travel, leisure, entertainment, and hospitality, as the benefits start to trickle down to them, suddenly the government is like, oh my God, we're concerned about inflation, we're concerned about too many prices, and they pull back the support. So the individuals at the bottom of the K, individuals who need help the most, individuals who are low wage earners, individuals who are living close to poverty or below the poverty line, get left behind once again. And here's more evidence that this entire situation, this entire pandemic, it is disproportionately impacting some individuals more than others. First of all, since the start of the pandemic, more than 40 million of our fellow Americans have been on unemployment at some point or another. The latest statistics show that almost 10% of the US population is on unemployment, either directly or indirectly, including a reduction in the labor force participation rate, because individuals who are simply no longer looking for a job because of their personal circumstances contribute to the high unemployment rate, whereas they were previously employed and or looking for a job. So the big question is, how are we doing right now compared to the start of the pandemic? Right now, US unemployment is such that there are 9 million more people unemployed than there were prior to the start of the pandemic. In short, we have 9 million more jobs to go before we can return to the pre-pandemic peak. According to Bloomberg, US payrolls remain down by more than 9 million compared with the peak before the pandemic. The black unemployment rate climbed to 9% in February, even as the overall unemployment rate was at 6.2%. So this tells us that, again, certain individuals have been impacted more than others. Now, the encouraging sign is that Janet Yellen, there she is. Hello, Miss Yellen. She said that her expectation is that with the American Rescue Plan, with the $1.9 trillion plan, and she said it's very important for this to pass in the House very soon. And by the way, House Speaker Pelosi has said that this is going to pass the House. Janet Yellen said that the plan is to get the US, the United States, to return to full employment next year. Now, here's some encouraging news. According to Kristalina Georgieva, who heads the International Monetary Fund, she said during an event with Janet Yellen in the past 24 hours that the policies of the United States were very progressive. In other words, it seems like the international community is cheering the United States as we try to make our way out of this pandemic economically and also from a medical perspective, leading the world with our vaccine creation and our vaccine efforts. Janet Yellen was also concerned about the impact, the disproportionate impact on women. Here's a quote from the US Treasury Secretary: "Women have to take care of children who can't be at school. We are really concerned about permanent scarring from this crisis." That's it, everyone. The uneven nature of the economic recovery, the uneven K-shaped recovery, and the fact that inflation, as it rises and as monetary policy is pulled back, as stimulus is pulled back, tends to leave out the very individuals who are most dependent, who are most in need, who should be getting more stimulus. If you've been following my channel, for me, it's not about the red or the blue, it's about the red, white, and blue. I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, I am American. I believe that help should go to those who need it the most. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. Please click the like button, please subscribe, please enable notifications. I would really appreciate that. There's the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. When she watches Ignition Time, she clicks the like button, and I ask you to do that as well. I really appreciate you watching. My goal is to bring you the latest news, the most current news as far as the country, the economy, and your money is concerned. I'll continue to do that. Please support the channel by clicking like, by clicking subscribe, and by enabling notifications. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.